the most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield 2.
Thank you.
In Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Skipper Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hi, hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Post-Match Recovery Show. I'm Jay Singh, and I'm joined by Joel Granger. Joel, good to see you, mate.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to have 3 points in the bag.
That's the main thing. Now, before we get on to Town's victory today against Stevenage, I'm just going to run you through what the show is basically going to be like. So, as Matt's probably said, myself and Joel are new to the podcast. Really happy to be here. And we've been trusted with hosting this new show. So the post-match recovery show will hopefully air live after every League One game that Town play in this season. We're working on, it's in progress, currently working on trying to host this show outside the grounds. Now, obviously due to technology and data and all your kerfuffle around the grounds, it's not quite worked yet, which is why we're live here through the wonderful art of technology. However, I can't promise it's going to be perfect because I had a bit of an issue on Tuesday when Town played Morecambe and I sat on a live podcast not knowing what was happening because the Wi-Fi cut out. So hopefully, Joel, you brought us some luck today and everything moves nice and smoothly. But we'll move on and get into it, shall we? So three wins in a week. Happy days, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you could have wanted, really, to start off this campaign, start off Duff's reign. I think today was probably the low point of the week, I'd say, in terms of performance. I think, we look like we've played 2 games previously in the past week. But 6 points through to the next round of the Cup, Walsall away. Doesn't get much better than this, does it?
No, it's a great start, and I think today probably settled any nerves that we weren't going to come out the first week, without a great success. Like you said, though, today's performance was probably the least convincing of the 3 this week. Now, Town have won 3 games in a row and 3 games in a row in a week. So, that's kind of unheard of in the scheme of things in recent Town history. So let's be fair here. Whilst it's all good, it wasn't exactly how we wanted to see Town play today. So let's do this chronologically. So Town named the lineup, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, everyone is there except Reece Healy, who has unfortunately not made the matchday squad. Now, that's a bit of a concern because we do know Healy's injury record isn't the greatest.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a concern. I think everyone knows if Healy can stay fit, he'll score goals. But staying fit's been his biggest kryptonite for the past few years now. I think we all had our fingers crossed that this season he'd be able to get over it slightly, but I'm not sure what was up with him. I don't know whether it was mentioned pre-match, maybe just a knock. But yeah, I mean, it's not great, is it? Ward came in. I thought Ward did a good job, but you need your star man, you need your star striker.
I agree. So let's move on to the game. First 20 minutes, I thought for the first home game of our League One campaign, and all the hype that's come before it, and all the new pyro and the great video that Sir Patrick Stewart kindly defrosted himself to narrate. I thought that was all great. Nice feel before the game, but I don't think it was a start that Town fans probably expected. I think there was an expectant atmosphere in the air that Town would straight away pounce on the front foot like we did, 23 seconds into the game against Morecambe. It wasn't like that, and I think that's a reflection of how the league's going to be. Yes, we are expected to, easily get top 6 and possibly push out of the league. I know lots of people have predicted Town to be up there, first or second, but we didn't start the game that well, I thought, but I didn't think Stevenage did either. I think it was quite a flat and a bit unconvincing for the first 20 odd minutes, but that's all right because we got through it, and no one really phased Town, did they, from the Stevenage persuasion?
No, I think to me it was quite clear what Stevenage's game plan was for that first half. Try and, they knew the crowd would be up for it. They knew the Town squad would be up for it. So they've got to try and kill the game, keep it flat. And I think they did that quite well. There was quite a few, niggly fouls in there, and, kicking Ben Wiles and kicking Mikel Miller. So I do think they did a good job in that respect, Stevenage. But I think once we found our footing, found our tempo a little bit more, I think we looked pretty comfortable throughout most of the first half.
Yeah, and it was clear that Stevenage were really, their game plan was to absorb pressure, and when they can, and what they tried to do was play long. Tyrese Simpson made his return to the John Smiths and didn't really, do much, which is credit to our back line. And I think the general consensus from the Stevenage persuasion was at half-time that needed to change, and we'll get onto that because it did. But the first 20 odd minutes, it was clear what Stevenage wanted to do, and Town dealt with that all, fine. Now, 26 minutes in, Town managed to open the scoring, and Joel, I know you're a massive fan of him already, like many people are.
Yeah.
Lasse Sorensen.
I mean, £500,000 or whatever the fee was, and that's all hearsay, of course. What a bargain! I'd watched quite a bit of last season. I've got a good friend who's a Lincoln fan, so Lass was loved there, and he just does everything you want in a right wing back. His crossing is superb. He'll run all day. I mean, he played 90 minutes today, 90 minutes against Peterborough, and I can't remember. I think did he come off against Morecambe? But he definitely started and played the majority of the game, if he didn't come off. Yeah. So his engine, it's just absurd. And that ball today to Karoma, I mean, we've seen it. He did a ball to Marshall midweek. Picked out Wiles again for the second. We'll get onto that, of course. But that first ball, and Karoma met it perfectly, but the goal was really all from the ball, wasn't it?
I mean, the ball, I put it in my notes, it was delicious. I think that's one way of putting it. It was an absolute, it was tailor-made, wasn't it? It was absolutely brilliant. And I must say, Lincoln must hate us, taking Toffolo off their hands, and he's now playing Premier League football. And now with Lasse Sorensen, it looks like we've got a real gem. And I know he's only played 3 competitive games in a Town shirt, but here we're looking at, I think he'd slot in nicely in the Championship. I don't know what you think.
100%. Yeah, you're right. I think there was an expectation maybe from League One fans that after the season he had last season, he could have gone to the Championship, but he clearly, bought into the project that we've got going on here, and we're reaping the rewards of that now.
Completely agree. And I mean, for a right wing back, some of the times I look at him, and he's almost playing as a second striker, and I think that just reflects how tenaciously Duff wants us to play. Because for years, we've had managers who've come in and said, "We promise you an attacking brand of football," and obviously they failed. I mean, Darren Moore was the obvious one. He came in and think it was Edwards and Cartwright was saying, "Oh, we've brought Darren in because we want to play attacking football." 17 draws later, we're in League One. But I must say, and I'm not trying to get carried away here. The system and the standard of football Town are playing so early on is really, really encouraging. And I know we took our foot off the pedal in the second half, and we'll get to that. But fundamentally, Town look really, really strong, and they know the type of football they want to play, and that's just been shown in the first 3 games. It's been shown this week.
Mm-hmm. I think obviously it plays into Duff's hands the fact he came so early. He had a pre-season. He's been able to take some players out, bring some players in. But I've only been on this earth 20 years, but I've never been more impressed from the start by a manager than Michael Duff, because we've completely hit the ground running under him. Obviously, Wagner came in pre-season. I don't know how he would have started a season if he'd had a full pre-season under his belt before he started managing us. But yeah, if you talk about impact from the off, Barnsley fans said we might have a slow start under Duff, because I believe they did. But I'm yet to see that slow start. If this is a slow start, it's going to be scary for the rest of the league. I'll tell you that for free.
No, yeah, I think you're right. On balance, there's a long way to go. Let's not get carried away here, but it's hard not to when we've been subjected to such absolute tripe for the past God knows how long. 1-0 at the break. I thought Town were fairly decent first half. I think there was definitely scope to extend our lead rather, before we went into the sheds. But at half time, you're thinking we can go on and score 2 or 3 more here, because, like we said at the start of the episode, Stevenage weren't really there to play football as such.
No.
So, but then Stevenage started playing football because they made 2 changes where I thought we might be in danger here. They brought on, and the most influential man I thought was number 9, Lewis Apere. Apologies, I don't know what the pronunciation is, and Daniel Kemp as well. And they had some really, really good chances.
Yeah, they did. I think Charlie Good came off. He's a centre back by trade, and they replaced him directly with Dan Kemp, who is a sort of winger, attacking midfielder. So it was a clear statement from Alex Ravel, the Stevenage manager, what they wanted to do in that second half. I thought during the first half, after we took the lead, I'd have been really frustrated if I was a Stevenage fan. They didn't look to get after us. It was like they were just trying to stop us from scoring a second, which they did.
Yeah.
But after half time, they came out and instantly pressing us higher. That front line list, Aper, really getting after us. And I think for most of the second half, we did really struggle to deal with it.
No, I agree, and I think I've seen one of the most impressive misses ever today. 48th minute, Elliot. Wow. It's Town are lucky. Long story short, Town are very lucky, because not even 5 minutes after the second half starts, they should be a goal apiece. And I think after that, there was a real probably 10 minutes of football where it was end to end. Anyone could have got that second goal. I think Stevenage, obviously massive miss. Ward went down the other end and Blaze won over. Again, I think it was a great ball from Sorensen, or it might have even been who's down that left. I think it was Karoma. Or Karoma, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, Ward probably should have hit the target. Yeah, I'm not sure either. But and then Ben Wiles. What start of the season he's having?
Yeah, well, we saw signs in pre-season, that's for sure, of what Ben Wiles is capable of. And 2 goals, 1 assist in your first 2 league games. It's not shabby, is it? And again today, he just showed some moments. There was a point in the first half where he received the ball on the half turn, did a little tidy Cruyff turn in the middle, and then sprayed a pass out to Lars Sorensen. And I just thought, if we'd have had this Ben Wiles last season, I'm not sure our midfield would have looked, as half as much of a problem as it did. But I'm buzzing for Ben. He's clearly a grafter, and I think he's deserving of a place in the team. And I'm glad he's getting his reward.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we'll go back to pre-season, and obviously really, really strong for Ben. And it looks like from last season, not only he's come back with a lot of confidence, he looks more sturdy in that midfield. I think he's filled out a bit,
Yeah.
and we're now probably seeing the ability from Ben, what we wanted to see when he first signed. And no way does this mean that I'm knocking him. It's just, who performed well last season. So it's really good that firstly he's playing his football, and secondly it seems like the people around him are also buying into that system. So I think in terms of midfield this season, I think Town are quite well off.
Yeah, I have to say I'm still not sold on Jonathan Hogg playing like the role he's currently playing, that like first choice defensive
Yeah.
midfielder. I think he's quite good at breaking up play, and he obviously organises the entire team really well. Hear him shouting all the time, red in the face. He's a proper leader, the general. But there was again a point where there was a bit of progressive play, and I think Wiles had made a run in behind, and all it needed was a nicely weighted through ball, sort of put Wiles in, and Hogg thumps it out and it runs for a goal kick. And I'm just like, if we had someone with a little bit more technical ability in that pocket, could have been in a goal there. And that's the part which irks me slightly with Jonathan Hogg.
Yeah, I mean, we know Hogg is not all that technically, and he most of the time compensates that with his ability to break up play, like you said, his leadership, and just Jonathan Hogg is Mr. Huddersfield Town. He's been to hell and back with us. But from what I saw today, there were times where yes, he's breaking up play nicely, but then there's other times where, and this is probably down to an age thing now, and it's going to be really hard replacing Hogg because he's been there for what is it, over 11 years now. But there were times today where his marker or someone in the midfield were just quite simply skipping past him, and then players progressing from a Stevenage perspective. And how do you go about replacing that? Because you've got someone like Herbie Kane who I don't think is. I think his game would be restricted if he was to just occupy that number 6 position. Because like we've seen even today, Kane is getting the ball, and the first thing he wants to do, unlike Jonathan Hogg, who normally passes sideways or somewhere safe, is get the ball, either take it himself or do a nice cheeky flick over or do something to make sure Town are going forward. Now, when the time comes, I think it's going to be hard to replace Hogg, but I think from a creative aspect, Town do look all right in midfield.
Yeah. I mean, when is the time to replace Hogg? I feel like we've been talking about replacing Hogg for 5 years now, since we came down from the Prem.
Yeah.
There must be something about him that coaches see, apart from his leadership, apart from his, the fact that he's Mr. Huddersfield Town, that does genuinely make him a valuable asset on the pitch. And personally, other than, the odd good tackle and his organisational skills, I'm not quite sure what that is. And I do worry it could cost us in big games when we need someone to step up from that midfield. Because today, I mean, there were points where Wiles and Evans were marked out of the game by Stevenage's midfielders, especially Anthony Evans. Anytime they get on the ball, kicked, fouled, pushed, and Hogg had space quite a lot today. And I think if you can get better at using that space to do something progressive, we'll look a lot better for it.
Yeah, and like you said, we were slightly roughed up today by Stevenage. Now, whether that's a welcome to League One or that's just how they play, it worked.
Mhm.
Obviously, when we get to it, the referee did not help at all. He really, really didn't, and neither did the two linos. I mean, they were something else. But and I'm leaning towards the answer being no. Do you think our players are a bit naive to what League One is going to present us? Because today, I think we could have been a bit more tenacious. We could have maybe matched the tenacity Stevenage, you know, presented us with. And I think this might be just a concept of, yeah, we play 3 games in a week. We've not really rotated the core as such. I think we'll be all right, but I think that's something Duff will have a word with them with because at times, like you said, the physicality levels were very, very different. And when Town needed to kill the game off and really get stuck in, they didn't really take that opportunity, did they?
No, and I think on the subject of being a little bit naive about what League One really is, I think Brodie Spencer was a bit of a victim of that today. I think we're so comfortable on the ball at the back for majority of the game, and I think
Yeah.
in the second half, when maybe they were making a few more runs in behind, there were a few extra bodies troubling our defensive line. Um, you know, Spencer especially looked to sort of switch off and be bypassed a little bit easily. Um, and I do just think it's like about not getting complacent. It's such a like obvious thing to say, and everyone says it, but you cannot afford to get complacent because no matter how like unknown these players are in League One, especially at a team like Stevenage, they'll punish you. And we were lucky today that we didn't get punished. Really, as you mentioned earlier, that Elliot List chance. I don't know if you watched Man United Fulham the other night. It's a really
Yes.
similar
Yeah.
one with Garnacho,
Sure. Yeah.
and I think
Wow.
that List one was almost even worse.
Yeah. I mean, I've just seen a comment here. I don't know if you've got access,
Oh yeah,
Joel, to the comments. There's an interesting one from Ruby Ruby. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, you've highlighted it there.
yeah, just flashed it up
I
there.
think
Yeah,
we expected Stevenage to roll over and die in the second half, and they came at us, and we just never recovered from that. I think that's spot on. Now,
hmm
Town last week at Peterborough were really good at game management. They were really good at controlling the game, although Peterborough weren't as threatening as Stevenage were today. But let's go back to that theme of complacency. We had to, and it was imperative to for any leisurely watching today. We had to kill the game. And there were times today at 2-0 where you're thinking, all right, yeah, we're fine, and we can pass the ball side to side and backwards and recycle it, and they wouldn't do anything. But they did. They came at us, and for the last half of the second half, it wasn't really a great watch. And I think that sentiment is echoed by a lot of Town fans.
yeah. I mean, apart from the goal and that Ward miss, I can't really remember a memorable Town moment during that second half.
No.
We only forced one save from their goalkeeper in the entire game. Um, I think in the first half that was, negated by the fact that we did look so comfortable in possession, and it did just look like a matter
Yeah.
of time before we scored that second. And yeah, you're right. I mean, if that penalty had come earlier, we could have found ourselves in a bit of trouble and bit of a sticky situation.
Yeah, but I think as well as the concern, it's a new league, it's new players, and it's new identity. So whether we get concerned about that or we just let it run, I think we probably let it run because I think someone's put here the Red Terrier, 3 points for the Terriers, 3 wins in a week, shirts off down Leeds Road. Yes, boys. So it's really positive. It's
Yeah,
probably no use us going on about we looked a bit shaky here and there because it's never going to be perfect. 3 wins
yeah,
3 wins in a week is class. Having said that, you can't paper over the cracks because there were times today where I thought, I think on the whole, Leeds was putting some goal saving challenges, looked really, really solid. Hellett managed Simpson well, and then Spencer looked rather uncomfortable on that left hand side of the back three.
Mm-hmm.
Town do dip into the transfer window for that, or we change formationally.
Are
you still with me, Joel?
Yeah, sorry, Jay. I think there's a
We've got
bit of
some
lag, but I am still here.
activity issues here. If we just bear with us, that's the beauty of technology. I think Joel's dipped off somewhere. Let's see if we.
I think we've lost Jay for the moment. Just on the subject of Brodie Spencer, I think I don't know what you Town fans think. Feel free to comment, but I think we do probably need to dip into the market. Josh Ruffles, I'm not sure what's going on with him. It could just be a case of Duff doesn't really rate his ability in that left centre back position. But he's our only natural left-footed defender, apart from Mikael Miller and Jaheim Hadley, who realistically you're never going to slot in on the left side of a back three. So yeah, I think Town do need to dip into the market and bring a left-sided centre back who can progress the ball down the line, because Brodie Spencer's right-footed. He's not the most confident on his left, and when you've got Miller and Wiles getting in behind on that left-hand side, you need someone who's able to hit it into the channels, and Brodie Spencer can't really do that for us.
Sorry about that, Joel. I'm back in the room.
No
Wi-Fi
problem.
being temperamental, but I'll completely echo what you've just said. Spencer really didn't look, and he's not looked too comfortable at all in that kind of left centre half role. Last season, when he was exclusively played down the right hand side, which is obviously his favourite side, he looked probably a different player in terms of going forward. We've not really seen him bomb forward, and he's probably got license to do that. Although obviously now he's in a bit more defensive position, but the line Town now play and how high our wing backs go, there is still a bit of license for Brody to push up, and it's not just that; it's his general skill on the ball. I think that's depleted quite a lot since he has taken up this new role. Like you just mentioned, there were instances in last week's game against Peterborough, and certainly today, where you just look and you think that should be a simple pass, or that should be a simple tackle, or whatever. Now, he's a young lad. He's not got significant EFL experience, so to speak. So if we do really want to condition him to this role, I think it would be a bit of a battle, because obviously you're on the completely wrong side for what he thinks in his brain. It's it's you trust in your left foot more to get down that left hand side. So I just think it's a bit of teething problems, and the ability of Brodie, like we said, like we joked about last season, he was a new signing. So I wouldn't be too worried in the long term, but I think it's worth flagging that he doesn't look that comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to back up our point, Ponty Terrier here says Spencer looks really, really poor. Let's be honest. I think really, really poor is, a bit dramatic. He did have some good moments today, a few good sliding challenges, and the Stevenage attackers, when they're coming at him, as with most Championship attackers, they never look to cause him a problem. It's more when someone gets in behind him, or as we've just discussed, when he's on the ball, where the problems arise for me. I can't help feel like he's maybe a little bit of a stopgap in that left centre back position. I feel like when we had Ruffles lining up, obviously, Ruffles is left footed, he's going to be playing on the left, but we did also have Spencer lining up on the right-hand side during pre-season. And again, you look at our current right centre-back, Tom Lees, you'd say you probably want to be playing him in the middle. So again, I think Lees is probably there because Spencer's out on the left and, Lees isn't getting in the middle. So if you want to play Lees, you've got to play him on the right and then you've got to play Spencer on the left. So it's all a bit of a mishmash, I think, our defence. I think a new signing, a left-footed signing would certainly help us out.
It would. It would definitely. Again, another probably accurate comment here. Stevens missed a complete open net as well. In hindsight, we are lucky to get the 3 points. At least we got the job done. Now that is the main thing. Hopefully we use this game as a lesson. I think that's a really, really fair statement about using the game as a lesson because, like I said before, I don't want to sound like a broken record. It's a completely new league. It's it's a fresh start. So I don't think the players will be too worried. I don't think Duff will be too worried. And like we say, we take the 3 points. We're second in the league, 6 points, joint with Stockport, Charlton, and someone else. We scored 7 goals in a week. I think it's 7, and we conceded 1. Is it Crawley? Bloody hell.
Yeah, I think they won again today, yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. Wow. I look forward to playing them at their ground. That's a ground I really want to go to. I don't know if they've even got an away, and they'll probably have to put some scaffolding up or something. Where are we? So,
do you want to talk about the penalty?
The only major thing, really, we've got to talk about is the penalty. Now, have you seen it? Because I haven't.
No, I have not seen it, and I maybe wonder if it's one that the EFL are going to try and brush under the carpet because, I mean, when the ref blew his whistle and pointed to the penalty spot, I was like, baffled.
I was a bit baffled.
There was a bit of wrestling going in the box. A few players ended up on the floor, but I couldn't see anything that warranted a penalty.
Initially, I thought it was Nichols. He came out flying, and to me, it looked like he got the ball or some of it, and it's gone to get Spencer for wrestling, which again I can't really comment on, unless obviously naturally you follow the ball. So, my end point is to see Nichols coming out, clearing it fine. We may have missed something, but that's not to say the referee didn't have other shockers because, God, he was something else today, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I mean, we've had our fair share in the Championship of poor refereeing. I just think it's basic things, and it's the referee. It's not just the referee. He needs help from his fourth official, his linesman, and they were giving him no help whatsoever today.
Oh, they were equally as poor. I mean, the linesman on the bank side, I've got a decent view of that because I'm Riverside upper first row. No one come and find me. But we were left at times really puzzled. How's that offside? How's that a foul? You've got the typical EFL ref or lino who is juggling with his flag because he doesn't know what to give. You've got the referee who I'm getting really passionate here, aren't I? You can tell. You've got the referee who is waiting for the decision from his fourth official or his linesman or whatever, and then he gives it one way, and then he's overturning it. I mean, it is incompetence, and I hate to moan because I mean every fan base will probably have their fair share of referees, but oh my word, it was an advert for how poor the referees are in the Football League system, because there were times today where you're thinking, oh well, that's not a foul for Stevenage, or that's soft as for us, or just give the right call. So I hate to complain about referees and standards of people doing their jobs. Someone just commented there's more of these refs in League One, and I'm completely with you because I don't think this is going to be the first or the last. I mean, we had some good friends last year. Rebecca Welch comes to mind, and that away end at Bristol City. I for one was incensed, and that was it. It was really tasty at the end of that game. I think you just get on with it, don't you? I mean, Town have managed to come out of it with the win when we had it up against us for a decent amount. The referee didn't help, but at the end of the day, it's 3 points. And at the end of the game, Joel, you put a tweet out
Yeah.
asking what people thought of today's game, the performance, whatever. So I think we've kind of gone over the game. So let's take it to the fans and get some fan reaction if you want to get us the ball rolling.
So we'll kick off with a comment from Joe. Good first half, poor second. Sorensen is a baller. In need of a left-sided centre-half with pace, Brody doesn't look comfortable there. He will play better on the right. Overall, not the best performance, but it's another win and another good result, onwards and upwards. And I think that just echoes pretty much everything we've said already, which is helpful.
It is.
Sorensen, man of the match, says someone else. Danny Ward, we've not talked about Danny Ward really. Proves the need for another striker here, says Last the Goat. What do you think?
He's like Marmite, isn't he, Wardy? I wouldn't say, people hate him, but people aren't really sure on him. I know you thought he had a decent game. I got a text from my mate who knew I was doing this probably an hour and a half ago now, and he said, say on the podcast that Ward's stealing a wage or he's a fraud or something. The lads who I was sitting with, my cousin, brother, uncle, all my family weren't really keen on him. I personally thought he wasn't. I thought he was average. I thought he was all right. Now, when Karama got taken off for Marshall, I want to say,
Yeah,
I think it was clear to see what Duff wanted to do. Now, Wardy excels in his hold-up play. He is almost. I'm not comparing him to what Harry Kane did for Spurs or Harry Kane as a player, but he implements that same style where he'll drop in, he'll get the ball, he'll hold it up, and he will pass and the play will progress. That's what he does. And by bringing Marshall on, who again we'll talk about, that was the plan for Ward. Now, today it didn't really work out for him. I think he was probably should have hit the target. Instead, he blazed over, which should have been 2-0 Town. Luckily, we scored a few minutes later, but you know what you're going to get the Ward. You're going to get, and if he wants to play, I know he goes hiding sometimes under managers he doesn't particularly like, but when he does play, he gives it his all. He will press like mad. I mean, under Carlos, he just didn't stop running. He was really, really, really useful for us that season. I think he scored 19 goals or something. He was brilliant. And if he gets a run of confidence and he starts firing, we might even have the Danny Ward of 21-22 back. I think that was the season. But if things don't go swimmingly for him, I think he finds himself lost sometimes because, and this is no discredit to Wardy, I don't think he knows when to stop. And at his age and with his engine, I think almost he's quite stubborn in a sense that he doesn't want to stop. I think someone's just put he's done enough to earn a start. What do you reckon? Because with young Callum Marshall, who again brought the energy, and I thought, although he didn't have any efforts on target or whatever, he looked very energetic. And I think Dave Hartrick said midweek that he deserved a start. What do you think with the striker conundrum? Do you think we need a new one? Obviously, the links to Joe Taylor don't really stop. Who would you say? Joel Granger, Huddersfield Town manager, Saturday. The rest of the team picks itself. Who are you going for?
Put me on the spot. I've got to go for Marshall. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Ward.
Yeah.
You know, we've both grown up. Danny Ward's had 2 spells at the club. you know, modern day Huddersfield Town legend might be pushing it slightly, but he's certainly given a lot of service to the club.
He's a good club servant, yeah.
Yeah. But Marshall just looks like he brings something different. I was thinking to myself, you know, if you can't work himself out at striker, he should try the left wing back role, because you know the energy he's got and the sliding challenges he was making. I was astounded.
It was
But
unbelievable.
yeah, I think I'd have to edge it to Marshall for next week. Personally, I think his energy in behind. Ward, his legs are going a little bit now. There's a comment here saying Ward is over the hill. Might be a bit unfair, but his legs, he doesn't run like he used to. Let's just put it that way. And I think we need that energy and that exuberance that Marshall has will serve as well.
I mean, we'll go back to Marshall, and this might be in his head. This might be 20 minutes or whatever it was. Let's get out there and put an advert out for myself, because although, like I said before, he didn't really test the Stevenage net, no one did, but just the sheer energy and the application, and you know, sometimes low knees, they strut on, they're there just to get on the pitch and, you know, get away from whichever manager they've annoyed or whatever. He really looked energetic, and I think that's all you can ask really right now when you're not really getting on the ball too much. He was definitely, along with Kane, I thought he was decent off the bench. He was definitely the one that caught my eye out of the substitutes.
Yeah,
Headley
sure.
looked like Headley was not great.
No.
But from what I heard midweek, he had an absolute blinder midweek against Morecambe. I think that's what you get with Jaheim. I think if he gets a run of games under his belt, he can be quite a valuable asset. Off the bench, again, he can add a bit of offensive drive. But if he's there solely to defend, then it's another scenario. So Marshall definitely is a good one to have, whether it's off the bench or start, we'll see. Another comment here, which links to another striker, Reece Healy being injured again. So Matt has helped us out here, and he said, Healy tweaked his groin in training. We're yet to see or hear. I think it was his groin or his knee or something that kept him out for a long time, and eventually he turned up and was kind of the brightest spark of a very torrid end to the last season. He's a goal scorer. He knows where the net is. And like Mr. Bojan, we just need to see whether his legs can hold up, because I reckon Bojan's got a few goals in him, but it's the same scenario. It's the same with Volker. Very, very gifted player from what we've seen, but he's made of glass. So that'll be, I think that will play out in the next week or so. I think Town will be quite quick to say what's happened. So hopefully it's quite minor and he can get back firing goals, and that's what we want it to be.
And would you bring another one in, another striker?
You can never have too many strikers, can you? Let's be honest. I mean, you just can't. I think with the lack of goals we've probably had in our generation, you and me both, Joel, it's all hands on deck, isn't it? I mean, we struggle for an out-and-out number 9 who can score goals every single week. And it looks like we lost out to one of those to Birmingham City. Then Alfie May scored again today, and he just looks like a classic number 9. But that's water under the bridge. That's finished now. Joe Taylor from Luton would be great. Any striker with decent EFL experience would be great. And window's not shut yet. Who knows if Town are going to either go into the loan market, maybe another Prem loan, or Kevin sticks his hand in his pocket. I think that's all to be seen. And I think all in all, it's been a very, very positive week for Town. I mean, let's be honest here. 3 wins in a week is really, really good. And I think the sentiment we kind of want to wrap up, kind of sharing, would be onwards. Let's see how this Town can play, how this Town team can play rather, and it's a really, really good start.
Yeah, I mean, 3 months down the line, if we've not lost a game or whatever, touch wood, no one's going to remember that we didn't play all too well in the second half against Stevenage.
Exactly.
We got the 3 points. That's the be all and end all. That's what you play football for. That's what Duff wanted. And we can't play like that every week because we won't get 3 points every week if we play like that. But you can only beat what's put in front of you, and today we did exactly that.
Exactly. All in all, we're sat here and we can only react to what's been put in front of us today. And I'll just finish off by saying it's a long, long way to go. Town have the expectations. Whether they're matched on a random Saturday in August, who cares? Because come May, if we're back in the Championship, then it's happy days. Like you just said, it's the second half against Stevenage. But we need to react to it, and I'm sure Town will. And that gets us on to next week today, when Shrewsbury Town visit the John Smiths. And again, I think this is a really, really decent opportunity. Having looked at their result today, I think they've just been absolutely battered by Peterborough 4-1. So they're there for the taking, and let's see what Town can do.
Yeah, completely. Matt and Killer will be back midweek, I'm sure, to preview the Shrewsbury game, and we'll be back this time next week for the same again. Hopefully, we'll be discussing another 3 points.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for your input. And we'll be back, like Bill said.
There's a team that is dear